Hello, good afternoon, good Tuesday afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Power to the People. Remember, Power to the People's purpose is to bring our communities together, to inform them that we would be empowered together. So we're grateful on today that God has allowed us to bring some superintendents of districts together, of school districts in the surrounding areas, and of course, we stream across the world. And so even those who are in West Africa and other countries, other states, will be able to take some pointers from what these leaders are doing in this corner of South Carolina. And so we're happy to have you today. And we ask if you would go ahead and share with your friends, tag your friends, teachers, all anybody you know. Just go ahead and get them on live. We are proud and celebrate the fact that in another week we've been on the air for almost a year, and we have already crossed 2 million views in 1 year, and that's because of your sharing, because of you having comments in the comment section and being active. So we need you to continue to do that, and so that we can go ahead and continue to be the platform that will benefit people and empower people. And we're going to go ahead because I know that South Carolina Gamecocks are going to be playing at 7. So we're going to jump right in here and introduce our guest to you. We first have Dr. Anderson. Dr. Anderson, thank you for being here on today and with your busy schedule. We're grateful for you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? I will say that Dr. Anderson is from my neck of the woods, and he's over the district here in Chesterfield County. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, sir. I think you're muted. Look at you. All right.
How about that?
We're ready.
All right. Again, thank you. My name is Chan Anderson, and I'm the assistant superintendent in Chesterfield County School District, and been there for 8 years now. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this Power to the People Town Hall and to help engage in such a very important topic. Appreciate you, Dr. Wiley, and again, thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you for being with us. We are honored. All right. And then next we have what we call over across the bridge, the water, Dr. McCord over in Marlboro County School District. If you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you for the invite. It's always great to have an opportunity to share good news about Marlboro County and to hear what our neighboring districts are doing. I'm excited about being on with this panel. I happen to know 3 of the 4 individuals that are on, and so we're what I call colleagues, and so I'm interested to know what they're doing, and happy to share again what we're doing in Marlboro County. I serve as superintendent proudly for the last 3 years. Marlboro County is a small rural community, but we are in fact and indeed a proud community, and we're happy about the work that we're doing for kids. So once again, thank you for the invite, and I look forward to the conversation.
All right. Thank you, sir. And then next we have from my hometown, Greenwood, South Carolina, Mr. Graves, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, happy to be here this evening. My name is Jonathan Graves. I serve as the Director of Communications for Greenwood School District 50. We are the largest school district here in Greenwood County, serving close to 9,000 students. I'm a hometown, is from Greenwood. I am from Greenwood, native Greenwood, and very excited to be here. So appreciate the invitation, Dr. Wiley, and go Gamecocks.
All right. With that said, I already told them, gentlemen, that we're going to try to stay within about 45 minutes to an hour so we can check out what the Gamecocks are doing. So we appreciate that. I said I got my co-host back here, and that's Reverend Natasha Gresham. And for the audience to know that I've been dealing with COVID long haul, so she's going to help me. If we can get her mic right. Can you get her mic right? She's going to try to help me anyway to co-host this for my my breathing and breath. So we're going to jump right in here, and we're trying to get Dr. Newman on. Dr. Newman is trying. Dr. Newman, Tim Newman, is from Darlington County, and my producer is here now, so she's going to be working with him. And Dr. Newman, if you can hear me, if you can put your telephone number in the private chat, and my producer will try to walk you through whatever issues you may be having right now. All right, so we're going to jump right on in here with our first question. And those that are listening and coming on, we're going to try to fill your questions that you may have. Just put them in the comment section. And if we don't ask a question that you may be concerned with, if you put it in the comment section, we'll try to get around to it. All right. First is, what are the most important pieces of advice you could give to K-12 teachers who are struggling to make, assuming that you all are moving to 5 days, at least Greenwood and Marlboro County, I'm not sure of, but I know Chesterfield, we are moving to 5 days. So Dr. Anderson, we can start with you. If you would share with us your thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, just want to encourage all of our teachers, because, you know, making this transition is a challenge indeed. So we want to thank them for what they've done thus far. And that's all of our teachers from district to district. You know, we can't express how much we appreciate the work that they do day to day. My advice would be to, one, take one day at a time. Two, continue to focus on one student at a time, and to try to be as intentional as possible with each child. This is a great time to maximize that differentiated instruction. So being intentional, maximizing the differentiated instruction, and taking one day at a time. We can't tackle everything all at once, but focus on one child at a time, and keep moving, and we'll finish strong. They will finish strong as well. All
right. Thank you. And then Dr. McCord.
Yes, sir. First, if I can, let me let you know, and the listeners know, that Dr. Tim Newman is trying to get in. He just texted me to let me know he's experiencing difficulties, and I know that'll be something that will be talked about a little bit later when you talk about technology and difficulties.
Yes.
That everyone is experiencing at different times. But my first comment for what advice would I give to teachers? I honestly don't have advice because I've never done what they're doing. Right now, in the history of education, no one has done what teachers are being asked to do each and every day, and that is educate kids in the best way they know how, using, and many times, new platforms for learning and providing instruction. And so it is a struggle for teachers. I'm fortunate because in a small district, I get to go in and out of classrooms on a daily basis, and I get to see firsthand what teachers are experiencing when you're trying to teach those in front of you, as well as teach those, in many cases, on the screen. It becomes a challenge. And so my hat's off to teachers everywhere, because, again, as I said, no one living has done what they are being asked to do every day. And the most important thing that I can say for them is not advice. It's just a word of thanks. And that's thank you for showing up every day and committing yourself to doing the hard work that's being done.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Then we'll ask the same of Mr. Graves in Greenwood. If they're struggling with this transition, what's your advice to them?
Yeah, just for a clarification, for us here in Greenwood, you know, we've been 5 days face-to-face since August. We've also provided a hybrid schedule, AB schedule, as well as virtual. We were in 3 instructional models during the first semester, and we definitely couldn't have done that without our outstanding teachers. They've just been tremendous this year. Only, you know, so many school districts in the state have been able to, you know, run that 5 day face-to-face since August. So that's all due to our teachers. And there have been some challenges there in terms of teachers actually, doing the 5 days as well as teaching virtually as well with that synchronized learning. So my advice to teachers, I'm going to kind of, refer back to the previous answers from the two panelists. I cannot speak for teachers. I would never try to do that because we're making history in this moment, because this has never been done before. This has never happened before. But I would say that one of the things that we've seen some success with, open lines of communication. If they have a question, definitely ask it. If there's a need there in terms of what's going to make them feel safe coming back into the classroom 5 days face to face, I would just encourage them to ask those questions, to share their concerns, whatever their needs may be, whether it be PPE equipment, whether it be a concern in terms of number of students in their class, or the number of students that may be having virtually, whatever it may be. I think open and honest lines of communication is always helpful, and it's always great when they can either go to their building administrator, or if they need to take it to a higher level, if they need to ask the question of someone else, possibly at the district level. I think having those open lines of communication is always helpful, and that's just something we've experienced some success with here in Greenwood School District 50.
Let me ask you this question for clarification. Y'all have been going face to face since August, so your teachers have been face to face and virtual since August?
Yes, sir. We've had teachers that are face to face. We've had students that are face to face, as well as we have a virtual program as well, where we have virtual teachers that are with virtual students.
Okay, so a face-to-face teacher, that's all they're doing, and the virtual, that's all they're doing, virtual.
In some situations, there are cases where a student may be out, and they may be serving a student or teaching students face to face as well as virtual. There are some situations in some of our secondary schools where that is the case, especially in some of our middle schools.
Okay, I can see where that happened. I was like, man, that's a lot for doing both since August. So I can see you have some that's just doing virtual and some doing face to face for the majority. Okay.
Yeah, we've tried to keep it as consistent as possible in terms of the ones that are serving face to face, they're only serving face to face, and then the ones that are serving virtual, they're only serving virtual. But like I said, there are some circumstances and some situations where they have had to do both, which, like I said before, is just amazing the job that our teachers have done this year when it comes to that.
Okay. All right. And Natasha, take us from here for a little while. Reverend Gresham.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
So we've already talked about the technical difficulties, and we know that's something that we're going to talk about, and I'm experiencing that myself. So bear with me if you see me repositioning. I'm going from my phone to my laptop, and so anyway, let's go on with our questions. So question number 2 is, what do you see as the biggest challenges involved in online learning for students in the first half of the year? And let's go, Dr. McCord.
I was going to say, I didn't know if you were going to call a name, but one of the biggest challenges has been the transitioning of students from what has been known to them as a traditional way of learning to this online virtual / face-to-face learning. The motivation factor has been a serious challenge. Having students and or adults sit in front of a screen for hours on a time, trying to engage them or re-engage them, encourage them, it's not as personable as we would like for it to be at many times. And so the biggest challenge I've seen right now has been keeping everyone motivated. And that is a tough task for everyone, because again, I don't know if I could have done it when I was in high school. If I were a 16 or 17-year-old student and I knew that it was on me to get up and log in 2 days a week and make it to school 3 days a week, I might have gotten lost in the shuffle. And so we're doing everything that we can to provide social and emotional learning support for our students and for our teachers, so that, again, we can let everyone know that there's a constant umbrella of care around the educational process that we're delivering each and every day.
All right. All right. Mr. Graves, how's that been for the district, Greenwood District 50? Is Mr. Graves still here?
There you go.
Yeah, I would
Mr.
say, I would say the biggest challenge for us has been the internet connectivity, making sure that all of our students are connected. We've tried to provide some solutions to that issue. In terms of our community Wi-Fi hotspots, we've partnered with some of our internet companies here in Greenwood to see if we can provide options for our parents in terms of low-cost internet for them. That, like I said, has been at times a challenge. We've also have some Wi-Fi hotspots around our community. Some of them are in like our local restaurants, our local gyms, some of our places in the Uptown Greenwood area that offer free Wi-Fi for people to come there and use that internet Wi-Fi hotspot to get connected. But that's just been kind of an issue, in some of these rural districts. I know that's been kind of an issue for everyone. So we've tried to work with our community as much as possible to see if we can provide that access or that internet connectivity for our students. We feel like we've made some strides, but like I said before, it's still a challenge that we are working on.
All right, we have Dr. Newman on. Thank you, Dr. Newman. Finally made it, huh? We appreciate it. All right, we're at the questions where we're asking now is what do you see the biggest challenge involved in online learning for your students in the first half? And I'm gonna ask everyone if they could kind of go between 30 to 45 seconds and try to get a smooth rhythm here. So,
just to add on a little to what Dr. McCord and Mr. Graves mentioned, one of the another challenge that we just can't substitute for is the human touch. That human touch. When we were in school in our education programs, we learned about the zone of proximity, the teacher making contact with the student and what the effects of that close contact. That's gone. That's been a challenge. You can't tally that on paper, but the effect is powerful. So that certainly has been a challenge.
Okay. And what do you think the long-term effect will be of that, Dr. Anderson?
Well, there's a decline. I mean, you'll see a decline with student engagement. Mm-hmm. Okay, and ultimately, when there's less student engagement, there's less student learning. So it's hard for students to remain engaged over a period of time without that face-to-face contact. So, a decline over time with student engagement, and ultimately, it's going to impact learning.
Okay. So, Dr. McCray, with that said, that would be your biggest challenge as well?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes. And I agree. And I said earlier, it's not as personable as we would like for it to be. Mm-hmm. Long-term effects, we don't know what those might be right now, but I can tell you it's going to take everyone pulling from the same end to get our kids back. And when I say everyone, I mean the ecumenical partners, the business partners, the local leaders. And so everyone right now is in what I consider to be the prime position to be a mentor for young people, because we're going to all have to pour into them and reemphasize the importance of education, the importance of getting back to what we consider to be a consistent track for learning. And only then will we be able to determine what, if any, of the long-term effects might be.
Okay. Dr. Newman, what pieces of technology or programs in your district is your district offering that would be beneficial to teachers and students until we can get back to the interactive? being
Well,
interactive.
and I definitely will touch on that real quickly, but also just piggybacking on that question that you asked, I experienced the exact issue that many of our students have experienced, right? Just trying to get my technology to work. I have the best, brightest technology in my district, but yet I couldn't join the show on time because I couldn't get connected. And, you know, we laugh about it, but truthfully, that's what our kids have experienced over and over and over. We've never went through that before. We've never had to deal with this. So anyways, I'm glad I could get connected. I'm on my trusted iPhone. So that's my second piece that I'm working with. But as far as what pieces of technology or programs, I'm going to focus on the people. Again, what we were just talking about. More so than a device or a specific program. It's our instructional technology coordinators. It's our wizards that are our school-based technology instructional folks. It is our master teachers that have gone through class after class to learn our systems. And it's really an all hands on deck of those folks doing professional development online many different times during the day. Pretty much 24/7 now that you can access all the different help desk that you can find out how to use the particular piece of equipment or the particular software to focus on building your lesson plan and how to incorporate that in your what we call our learning management system, which pushes that out to the students and pushes it out to the parents. But it's really the people that are behind the scenes that is the most important thing that we're doing to pour into to get our kids and our parents, our guardians, our family members, and most importantly, our teachers learning how to interact with all three of those.
Okay. There's a question that came up. Well, not so much a question, but a statement. And Reverend Gresham, if you could take the next question. But before you do that, I want to go back to this question. Well, it wasn't a question, a statement, but it can be a question. That is, this is true. I think she's talking about the interacting. Her grands are students, and this is coming from Greenwood. But to her surprise, they've been struggling. If Cynthia, Miss Reverend Talbert, if you can tell us what they've been struggling with, and maybe we can talk about what can we do to resolve it. All right, Natasha.
I believe Minister Talbert did answer there. She was saying that their Chromebooks are continuously malfunctioning, and they're having to take them to the school and get them switched out.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dr. Anderson, are you having problems like that in Chesterfield District?
We've experienced those problems, but what we've done is we've tried to make sure that one, we've had backup Chromebooks to give to the parents, and also we've tried to make sure that that we had clear lines of accessibility, so those Chromebooks that were malfunctioning could get back to the schools quickly, and we can issue another device back out to them. I think Dr. McCord mentioned it earlier. This is our first time. This is our first time doing this across the board in our region, in our country, in our world. So we're learning as we go as well. We'll certainly learn as we go. And the device piece, that's a totally different monster. So my ears are certainly wide open to hear what other districts are doing, to get a quick turnaround for those type of issues.
Okay. All right. Reverend Gresham, what was the next question?
It's for their students.
Can you start over? You're muted.
Okay, sure. What is the expectation of the parents with virtual instructions for their students? Let's go with Dr. McCord.
The expectation for us with parents is that they provide a level of support that they feel comfortable with. Quite naturally, we can't expect for them to be the classroom teacher, but we would like to have our parents supporting our efforts by making sure students are in fact logging on. We want our parents to be able to know how to log on themselves and keep up with the workload as well as with the grades and assignments. But again, for the big part of that push, we have a helpline that's available 24/7. During the day, we have our IT folks and our instructional assistants, as well as some classroom teachers that are available to assist students. But again, I heard someone say earlier, making sure that it's communicated in a manner in which everyone knows that these resources are available sometimes becomes a struggle. We've utilized every available means of communication to let our families know. We use social media, which is big in our area, to get our message out. We try to utilize the phone call outs. We try to find every way that we can to communicate with them where the resources are, because it is frustrating. It's frustrating not just for parents, but for especially the students. Again, as I said earlier, if I was 16, 17 years old, I don't know if I would have the wherewithal to make it happen when things don't go well. My hat's off to Dr. Tim Newman, because he kept pushing through. He not only continued to try to get in through the way in which you had advised him, but he said earlier, this is my backup. How many of our kids actually have a backup or have the determination to say, hey, you know what? I've got a backup. And so we know better because we're older and we are not experiencing it. But for parents, we want them to know that we're here for them. And we want to, again, communicate where they can find the resources without all the headache.
Okay. Do you have a lot of parent concerns coming towards you?
Most definitely.
Okay.
we get calls all day, every day.
Okay.
And we welcome the calls because, again, through those calls and conversations, we learn things that we sometimes didn't know. And if we're able to help them in an expedient manner, then by all means, we want to make ourselves available.
All right.
Dr. White, I would say, just to add to that, you know, as far as the expectations, I think one of the difficult things for parents and you know, members of households with students in it is, you know, they're still looking at grades. That's the barometer for how they gauge how their kids are doing. And we're in a much different place right now than just looking at grades. Much to what Dr. McCord just said, as far as having a parent actively plugged into the student's process of what it takes to do virtual learning. And they may not have to be technology savvy as much as just there for support, but asking the same questions that they were asking before technology, right? Have you done your homework tonight? Can you show me what you're supposed to have finished for class today? And if not, do you know who you're supposed to get help from? That level of support is probably 80% of a student's success, not only in virtual, but in any type of education, instruction situation. So, but it's been very different because I think parents are still trying to hold that measure of grades of does my child have a D or a C or a B or an A, when really what we're looking for is just engagement and acknowledgement that they're participating in the process.
Okay. Reverend Gresham, I don't mean to be bumping you right here, but I
have a question when you. Yeah.
Okay, you as a parent, as a young parent, I know you have a question. My question is: has any of the districts that we're talking to right now had like sessions for parents? I don't know if going prior to, maybe going into next year. Has that been a thought to have some training or sessions for parents? Mr. Graves?
Yeah, in Greenwood, we had technology. We called them technology help sessions. This is at the beginning of the year. I think it was back in September. We actually invited parents in, wanted to make sure that we were COVID correct when we brought them in. So it was small groups. but then we also put it on our social media too. So we had a Facebook Live with those sessions too. We had about 2 or 3 sessions at the beginning of the year. Those were obviously recorded as well, and we put them on our website for parents afterwards. And we felt like they were helpful in terms of sharing expectations for our virtual program, and then also sharing with them what the programs and platforms would be for our virtual program. It gave parents a chance to actually sit down with our IT staff, and as Dr. Newman said, our technology wizards, and the technology wizards took them step by step with some of the things that they may have been struggling with in terms of logging on, the expectation once the student logged on, what they were expected, what the work they were expected to complete. And then we also gave them a chance to ask questions as well. So we thought it was really helpful. And then also we had an orientation session as well. So the orientation sessions that we had are basically, like they would be in a normal school setting. We just, give parents a chance to ask questions, but then also lay out for them clear and consistent expectations that we're expecting for their student when it comes to the virtual program.
Okay. Dr. Anderson, had y'all considered doing that in the Chesterfield County, or were you doing it?
Same thing as far as orientation, and we really did that at the beginning of the year when we, the night we passed out devices. We didn't just pass out devices. We had to orientate our parents. Fortunately, the concept is we begin orientation with our parents, but it should never end. Meaning keeping that the lines of communication open and being accessible, so any parent can contact his or her school anytime with any question. So yes, starting those parent orientations, but making sure that they're consistently continuing to push forward throughout the school year.
That's good. That's what one of the listeners was saying, that it's good and very important to stay in touch with the virtual teachers where feels the stress. All right. Okay. Reverend Gresham, go to the next one. Oh, you got a question as a young parent of a young man.
Yes, and actually I think as well, we can hold it. Let's lead. If the question is going to lead into, my question will lead into one of our questions. So I'll hold it for right now.
Okay. And what you got next?
So we have, how is your district addressing the problem of students who don't have the same access to the technology and equipment necessary for online education? I know we discussed that a little bit as far as the internet access and the school providing the Chromebooks, but was there any other information as far as like the Wi-Fi portables, things like that? Like I was a college student when the pandemic was coming through. And we were given the Wi-Fi ports to take home if we didn't have Wi-Fi. Dr. Newman.
Yep, I can speak to that. Yeah, we the districts across the state, and Darlington County was similar to probably everybody else on this page, that we were allowed to order X amount of hotspots, individual hotspots, and so we received about 500 of those that we were able to distribute throughout to our students. And then we were thankful because the state actually was supposed to we were supposed to start being charged for those, even though we were going to pay for those through our district for our families. The state picked up the tab for that through the end of the year. So we had the hot spots that were very helpful for families, but there's also some limitations to those. So for example, if you have one child in the household and they are doing virtual learning online, the hotspot holds up fairly well. But if you have, let's say, 3 or 4 students, 3 or 4 children in the household that are trying to use a hotspot, it doesn't hold up as well. And you really need more than one. We had to put several hotspots in homes to help facilitate that. And then the other problem, which again, in our state, we have this, and our legislators are talking about addressing this, but I'm still waiting to see what happens in rural South Carolina. we don't have great cell service everywhere. And so those hotspots only work well if you have good cell service. They run off the cellular network. In Darlington County, Verizon is the best service we get. So we tried some AT&T ones. They didn't work. They didn't help our families. But we have some parts in Darlington County that don't get any cell service. And internet has not been run out to those homes, even if they wanted to get, internet service. And so, again, I think from a state infrastructure standpoint, we've got to find a way to step up quickly to get access. I know there's some programs out there that are trying to work with some of the electric co-op companies and potentially run internet service fiber off of the electrical lines that run to households. But we are, in the PD area, we are the prime example of what happens when you don't have access to great cell service or you don't have access to internet.
Okay. All right. What about Chromebooks for teachers, perhaps? Reverend Graves, Mr. Graves, do y'all have thoughts of doing that, or are you already doing that?
I'm not a reverend, by the way.
Okay.
I know I knew it.
You just look like it, man. I was like, you look like Dr. Anderson there, y'all.
No, we already have, our teachers already have Chromebooks. Some of them even have Dell laptops. So that's something that, each of our teachers has. So yeah, they were outfitted with those a couple of years ago. And then we've actually, because technology is constantly changing, is constantly upgrading, we've had to upgrade those devices here in the last year. So that's something that all of our teachers have. And going back to, I think, that question from one of our parents, one of the things that we've been struggling with, I guess it could have been possibly one of our challenges, is, the kids that are on virtual, we have had some struggles with, their devices, because they're on them a lot more because they are virtual. Sometimes they have issues with them. So we've had to, once they bring them in and we allow our IT folks to fix them, we try to provide them with another device so they can continue their virtual learning. So I would just, encourage her to, continue doing that, continue bringing that device in. And, we're going to try to see if we can get it corrected and get the issue fixed as quickly as possible.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I hope, Ms. Talbert, that was for you. And Dr. Anderson, how are you feeling about teachers getting Chromebooks or Dells to take home, outfitted with?
Oh, certainly supported. The key is the same thing that we've been talking about throughout. We can give our teachers the devices, but our teachers have to be trained as well. We want to make sure that our teachers are confident with the devices that they have. If not, then that'll become a barrier as it relates to teaching our children in person as well as virtually. So making sure that our teachers have what they need, devices or anything for that matter, and making sure that they're trained properly so they can be confident when they face our students.
Okay, is that something y'all considering outfitting, or just not sure yet?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. And Dr. McCoy, what y'all doing over there in Marlboro County for the teachers?
We provide technology support for staff to include equipment such as devices when requested. As was mentioned earlier, we have teachers that live in the county that don't have great internet access. And so, of course, it's a struggle for them as well. The biggest thing that we can do, and I think we've been doing a pretty good job of it, is making sure that we're listening to the needs of our teaching staff and trying to accommodate them as best possible. The key word for everyone, or the watchword for everyone, is patience. Everyone has to step back and be a little more patient than they have been used to being, because again, we still live in a ready world. Everyone wants it right now, and we have to remind folks at a time. We just have to be patient with this. We're learning as we go along. We're learning together. No one is the expert, and so we want it to be palatable for all. Again, teachers can't be effective if they're frustrated. Students can't learn if teachers don't have the opportunity to teach with a level of comfort that allows them to be the professionals that they are. And so we're demonstrating patience and grace, and we're asking everyone to do the same.
Okay. And Dr. Newman, what are your teachers doing?
Well, in our trials and travels for recruitment of teachers, I always have to make sure to point out in Darlington County, all of our teachers receive a Apple MacBook and an iPad. And,
That's how you keep getting them.
From a recruitment standpoint, that just that helps us a little bit when we're talking with some of those new teachers coming out of college. But we've been fortunate. I can say that Dr. White, we've been fortunate in Darlington County that for many years that they have made a commitment to giving teachers technology, and again putting the training into it, as everybody has said in their districts as well, and this the infrastructure that's in place to run all that. But again, I think regardless of what the device is, it could, whether it's a MacBook or a Chromebook or anything else, good teaching is good teaching. And we can't ever get away from that. We all, we have tools that we may acquire, and those tools may look differently over the years, but there is nothing that replaces a teacher connecting with a student and making something relevant to them, to where that student says, I get what you're saying. I understand how to work through that problem that I have in front of me. So I think as long as we all continue to put that at the front of everything, that whatever tools that happen to come along, whether they be as nice as an Apple MacBook or whether they be a Chromebook or a Dell or anything else, that'll all fall in place.
Okay. All right. Reverend Gresham, we've got some questions coming through, and actually there are some questions that we've already had outlined. And so, but what I'm going to do is just deviate to the questions that our audience have. And it's pretty much some of the same. We just hadn't got there yet. And we have about 15 more minutes for these young men to get back to their busy schedules. Along with not Dr., but Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson makes a statement, but it leads into our next question. The statement is parents' involvement is crucial, especially in Title I. The gap closes when parents engage the process. Let's see here. Okay. Boy, here we go. So if remote learning continues to be an important element of public education next year, what can school and districts be doing now to ensure its success? And that kind of plugs into the statement that Mr. Johnson made. And Ms. Gordon, we're going to come to you in just a minute. If just hold on for your question. So what is your plan, Dr. Anderson, of next year?
Yeah. And next year is basically here.
It's here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. So a couple things. Number one, we have to make sure that we choose the right staff to deliver the instruction. Okay.
Elaborate on that, Dr. Anderson, when you say right
yeah.
staff.
So what I mean by that is, I may be a great face-to-face teacher, but I may not prefer to teach virtual. That may not be my forte. Good. So I may struggle with that. So trying to make sure that we have the right people in the right places, in other words, is a win-win for everyone.
Right.
Number two, we have to obviously make sure that we have technology and the right learning management systems in place. We have to obviously look at this year, what worked, what did not work. And then finally, we certainly have to, and we've been saying it throughout, continue to personalize teacher training. Okay, so our teachers can be effective and confident.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Who I wanted this for? Lost the I tell you what, in Greenwood, is that what we were doing in Greenwood with the virtual and the face-to-face, that you're putting people in the right place? Because can you speak to that?
Yeah,
Is that what your idea was in Greenwood?
Yeah, I think, initially we wanted to make sure that we, like you said, we had the right teachers teaching whatever that instructional model was, whether it be face-to-face or virtual. I think as the year has gone on, we've heard from parents, and we've obviously seen what our teachers have been doing on those instructional models. We've got a better handle about which teachers are successful when it comes to the virtual program. So what we've done now is we just recently sent out a commitment form that went out back in February, I believe, and we actually had parents to sign up if they were interested in their students being virtual for next year. That went very, very well. And based off of those numbers of the number of students that signed up for the virtual program, we were able to make decisions about which teachers would be virtual for the upcoming year based on how many students signed up for each grade level. So I just feel like based off of everything that we've learned for this year, it's just going to help us even more next year in terms of not only which teachers should be virtual, but then also the parents understand too what the expectations are. They have a better understanding of what those expectations are going to be for the virtual program next year.
Okay. Dr. McCord?
We're in the process of putting professional developments together for our teaching staff. It's been continuous all year. As they learn, of course, it gives them a level of comfort that will provide them opportunities for next year. But we have a seasoned educational pool here in Marlboro County. And so when you think about the fact that many of the teachers are 20 years into education, they didn't grow up with technology. And so it presents a barrier for them sometimes because you kind of get into the habit of learning in a particular way, and now you're forced to relearn everything that you've done so that you can deliver it. And so it's important for us to identify what areas of support they need, and we've been doing that all year, and we'll continue to do that throughout the summer months. We are not looking forward to hosting a virtual program next year, as I heard Mr. Graves say, but we are going to be prepared in the event that we have to do so. Again, I think identifying which staff feels most comfortable providing platforms in the virtual realm is going to be better for students and staff. But at the same time, we're looking forward to getting back to the days when we can have students face to face and deliver to them the best possible instruction that we can.
But do y'all think, and anyone can answer this, so let's go to Dr. Newman. Do you think because of certain staff not having either the knowledge or the enthusiasm to work with virtual has been a clash with the students learning, between the parent not knowing, the staff may not be where they need to be on it? Do you think that's been one of the issues with the students learning?
Absolutely. And it goes back to what everybody has set up before, which is you've got some teachers that it may be more natural for them to be in the virtual world. I think we were all, if I'm not mistaken, all the districts that are represented here, we were all pushed into putting together these virtual programs because the sheer numbers. I can remember telling my board within the first month of when we were putting plans together for this year that I thought maybe 10% of our students would go virtual into the virtual academy. And I thought that was a large number. And most of the superintendents that were having these discussions back in June of last year, we were thinking 10%. And when the final numbers came out for us in Darlington County, it was 37%. It was almost 40% of our students, which was almost 4,000 students, that we had to completely reconfigure how we were teaching. We actually put all of our, we had just built some new schools and had some old buildings that we were able to repurpose for virtual academy teachers. And so we were able to house the majority of our elementary school teachers and middle school teachers that were just teaching virtual in those buildings. But a lot of those folks, unfortunately, because of the sheer numbers, they had to be voluntold to do those particular jobs, right? We asked for volunteers. There were a lot of folks that had medical conditions that put them in that situation. Again, number one priority was their health, but they also, that may not have been the best person to be teaching virtual either. But because of where we were with the pandemic, we had to make that work. And we, when we ran out of teachers that volunteered, then we had to start volunteering them because we didn't have the amount of students in our buildings to support the amount of teachers that we had. So we had to move those folks to the virtual academy. But it's been an incredible challenge. I applaud Mr. Graves for getting started early on in February to see what the numbers look like. But I've always told everybody along this process that everybody's decision on whether they do virtual or not is going to be dependent on the pandemic and the spread of the virus at that moment. And so, if you ask somebody back in September, did they want to be virtual, they would have given you a different answer than if you asked them in December or January or even now. And so we're all just trying to get a feel of what this looks like. But a lot's going to depend on what life looks like in July, even though we're trying to plan and we have to plan now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. And Mr. Gordon, pretty much Dr. Newman answered it, but this is more direct and Ms. Natasha, if you can read that to Dr. Anderson.
This question is for Dr. Anderson. Will parents have an option to choose virtual or in-person learning next year?
Yes, parents will have that option.
Okay. Now, regardless to where we are now, as Dr. Newman mentioned, even though we don't know what August will be like, apparently it's probably going to look like in some areas it's rising again. But you all are already planning to offer virtual learning. Okay.
Yes, we are. We're putting out our survey. In fact, it went out this week. And the reason why it has to happen so early, I think all of us wish we could wait, but we have to place teachers. We have to move our human resources to be able to handle the amount of students that we have and be able to put the virtual teachers back in the school buildings, depending on how many students we have to serve.
Okay. And Dr. Anderson, I meant to since you're planning, we're already planning to have this option in Chesterfield County.
That's right. That's what we're working on now. That's right.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you for that question, Ms. Gordon, if you have another. And then we have from Mr. Johnson. While virtual learning, go ahead and read that, Tasha. I don't have my second glasses.
While virtual learning has come with its challenges, there have been some successes. What are some of the things learned in virtual space you plan to continue or build upon?
And I can tell you, that's a great question by Mr. Johnson. I tend to believe that there have been some silver linings behind all of this, one of which that has pushed us to understand that there are different ways that students can learn. We're going to capitalize as much as we can for those that have benefited from this style of learning, even though I said we're not planning per se to host a virtual academy next year. We are preparing in the event that we do have some students that prefer this. We also are looking at how we met out consequences for students that may not do so well in school, whether it be recapturing credits or allowing kids to work from home when they have so-called timeouts. We're looking at different ways in which we can continue to incorporate aspects of this virtual platform that we're having to go through right now. So that's a great question. I'm glad someone has noticed also that there are some silver linings behind all of this.
Okay. Dr. Anderson?
I think one of the positives that comes out of this is that when we talk about instructional strategies, because of virtual, now our teachers are able to have more opportunities and more strategies to integrate technology into their face-to-face instruction. But that came as a result of virtual instruction. So they have more tools in their tool belts, if you will, to teach face-to-face more because of the experience now of virtual.
Okay. And all right. Mr. Graves, we had a question that was directed to you, but we have lost you. So, Ms. Loudon, if you have another question for the panel in general, we'll be glad to take it. We'll figure out where Mr. Graves went to. All right. So we
Technology got him. Technology.
Yeah, they got him. So he got to break out of it like Dr. Newman did. So, I have about 3 more questions for you all. If you would just be a little patient with us. Let's see here. I'm going to go down the line and let's go here. All right. What would you like for your community to know about this year and how they can be partners with you in efforts to bring student success in this area of COVID-19 moving forward? How can parents, and I think somebody mentioned it, Dr. McCord, I think you mentioned about businesses and everybody coming together, but more specific, how can parents partner with their district and align themselves to moving forward, not knowing whether the pandemic is going to get going to increase or decrease?
I think being involved by being present as much as possible. And being present doesn't always necessarily mean being physically present, but being involved to a point where they know the information that's coming from the school. They know where the resources are to assist them and their young child. That's going to be important. I said earlier, everyone is in prime position right now to be a mentor. Kids can teach us some things. And of course, we want to be able to share life experiences with them because, as I said earlier, the motivation factor is a little different than what it was pre-pandemic. And so we're looking at revising our strategic plan now to have a post-pandemic plan that's going to rely heavily on having partners that will enter into our schools or connect with kids in a way that they can help encourage and re-engage them in the educational process.
Okay, Dr. Anderson?
Well, I think what parents can certainly do is stay connected with your child's school. Very important, because even though, all the guys here, we work at the district level, but parents have their child at the school. So staying connected, staying involved, and certainly making their voices heard at the school level, because parents have a perspective that many of us don't have. Parents see things that many things that we don't see. So making their voices heard at their school, connecting with their principal, connecting with their teacher, that's absolutely priceless.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Newman?
Yeah, I would just say I would want our community to know that we're standing with you and that we have made it this far. We've made it together. We've made it supporting each other. We've made it listening to each other. We've had good times and bad times, obviously, when we talk about the pandemic and its effect on our community, whether it be families that have been impacted from people that have been sick and died and having to grieve together through that. there have been so many things besides what we're used to schools being in the past that have happened to all of us together, that I really feel that we've grown closer, that we've had a need to figure out how to communicate more with each other and share more with each other and be more real with each other about the challenges that we have faced, and it's not over. I mean, the pandemic may be hopefully coming, to an end, and that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But we're just getting started on how it's affected our kids from an social emotional standpoint, from an academic standpoint, and we are all having to figure out how to help them. Whether it be with our teachers and our school personnel, or with our outside community members coming in and helping tutor our students. But I would just say that we're here for you, that we've learned how to grow closer together, and that I really don't want to lose that going forward. That's been a big silver lining for me and for our district with our families is that I think we've connected on a different level, and we need to maintain that moving forward. I think there's a lot of parents that are going to be really happy to see kids go to school 5 days a week, every day for 180 days. I think there's a bigger appreciation to what educators do, and they've had to deal with that firsthand. But I think most importantly, we've done it together, and we'll continue to figure out what's best for our kids.
Okay. Now that was for the connection. I'm trying to put this in a pattern here. So that was our connection to the parents. How can we connect with the children? And I think Dr. Anderson mentioned about us getting in contact with the schools. But what about the children? What are the plans for children who have fallen behind academically? How will we connect, and what are the plans to bring them up to be successful in the next grade level? So, such as a summer program, or is there thoughts of that, Dr. McCoy?
We definitely are offering summer programs for our students beginning in July after they have a few weeks off. We're going to encourage all students, of course, but definitely those that have demonstrated that there is a real need for them to be in summer school. We're very thankful for the monies that we're now starting to receive and have been receiving for some time from the State Department of Education through our government to help provide resources for the learning loss. And so we're creating ideas and plans that we hope to be innovative and getting kids back on our campuses for the long haul. One thing that I would say, and you asked a question, that's a very good question. What would you say to kids? Very simply, don't give up. Don't give up hope. And again, that sounds so simple, but when you think about the fact that many of our kids are at home, many times without a responsible adult there to oversee them, to make sure that work is being done, they're having to go at it alone. We have adults that can't do it alone. And so we have to make sure that we instill in our young people the idea of not giving up, because education is still important. Education still matters, and education is still needed in order for them to live the quality of life that we know that they deserve.
All right. Thanks, sir. And Dr. Anderson?
Yeah, we're offering a 5-week program for our students during the summer, 4K through 8th grade, and also a 3-week program for our high school students to recover units needed in 2 courses to receive more credit. So having a robust summer program is important, and we think it'll produce some pretty good dividends for our students.
Okay, and those that will be for voluntary basis, students that want to volunteer to take classes.
Voluntary basis, and I think I heard Dr. Newman say it earlier. Voluntary.
Voluntold.
As well. That's
Yes.
right.
All right. So, Dr. Newman, I think I know where you stand on that. Or did you freeze? Like you froze. He is. Okay. All right. And so, well, we'll
Back
post.
again. I realize that phones have to have a full charge to be able to do video again. So I'm monitoring and adjusting here. I'm sorry. Could you go ahead and repeat your question, Dr. White?
Yes. What plans or thoughts do you have for us connecting to the students, particularly those who have fallen behind during this grade level, to prepare them for the next grade level? For an example, summer programs or courses. You there? All right. Well, we'll go to our final question here for you guys. I appreciate you. All right. Since we connect with the parents, the teachers, the parents and the students, and now the teachers as we close, do you have empathy for the plight of teachers and the staff in your district? And when I say empathy, I'm meaning, and this is for them to hear. How, in what way do you feel their struggle? And if that makes sense, Dr. Newman.
Yeah, absolutely. They have been on the front lines of working through something that we will never experience again for a generation, hopefully never. But for our generation, this is something that I don't think anybody could plan for, could remotely try to understand it. But I will say hats off to the teachers, because they have figured out how to reach kids. And they've been the ones that have had to use all the different strategies that we've tried to provide for them, and they've come up with more on their own, and they've told us how to make them better. But yeah, our teachers, for a first-year teacher to have to experience teaching in the middle of a pandemic, they'll never forget this. I believe they've all become better at their craft of teaching. But we've been so focused on our kids and what's going on for them and how they've been struggling. But listen, teachers have suffered. They've suffered through illness. They've had deaths in their families. They've had to live life through a pandemic just like everybody else has. And so my focus is on taking care of them, that in any way possible, that we're able to pat them on the back and say, we so appreciate what you are doing and what you've done so far. Moving forward, a focus on giving them what they want for next year from a standpoint of what will help you, what will assist you, what will ease your burden, versus what's another program we can just throw on top of everything else. We have money to buy things to help. We got to be careful not to put more burden on our teachers, and actually just help them be as unencumbered as possible just to interact with kids.
Okay. All right. And Dr. McCord?
I think Tim said it best. We have to make sure that our teachers are well. We have a program in place now for employees that are in need of counseling. And I say that because we all have experienced, and I say we, self-included, we all have experienced moments of great self-doubt because of the work that we're doing. We all want to do the best job that we can. And when we get to a point where we understand and realize we're not at our normal selves, we have to take a time out and seek professional help and assistance. And so happy to have that now available here in our district for our staff. I've been making it a personal goal of mine to make it to every classroom in the district, just to put an eyeball on the staff member, give a word of encouragement or a nod of encouragement to let them know that we are standing in place with them. I can't do it for them, but definitely standing in place with them. Every opportunity I get, I like to read to students and be involved in the lesson that's going on, whether it be face-to-face or virtual, so that I can let them see me, understand that I know what they're going through. I don't understand it completely because I'm only doing it momentarily, but it makes a difference, I think, when staff knows that you're there with them. We still have to have high expectations, but they have to be realistic too. As has been said many times tonight, this has not been done before. And so understanding that what they're doing is sacrificing of themselves, because many times now, as you can imagine, case point and example, the doors close at a particular time of the day, but the opportunities for learning and growth don't stop. Here it is going on 8:15, and we are still in the business of educating. We're trying to educate the public, but we're also trying to learn so that we can share with our staff and our students, as well as our community, what we are learning from each other. And so it doesn't end. We're continuing with this plight, and we'll continue. I think the hard work is just beginning. We have endured the brunt of the pandemic. Looking forward to some days when we can get to post-pandemic, but not really looking forward to going back to the way things were prior to the pandemic. As was said earlier, we've learned more. We're smarter now. We want to take that knowledge and use it to our best abilities to continue to educate kids in the best way possible.
All right. And Dr. Anderson.
You know, when our teachers are well, our students are well. And when our teachers are hurting, our students are hurting. You know, we talk about the proverb that we continue to say that's made its way throughout generations. It takes a village to raise children. Well, it takes a village to educate children. And teachers are play a very, very intricate role in educating our children. And I say all that to say that no teacher, whether they work in Chesterfield County or Darlington County or Marlborough County, wherever, when I find out that you're a teacher, I have to ask you two questions. How are you doing? And I really want to know. And the last question that I will ask an educator or a teacher is, what can I do to help you? We'll figure out everything else in between. We'll figure that out. But teachers and educators, they need to know that we care, and they need to know that we have an ear to listen to them, and that we want to be a resource for them. So when our teachers are healthy, when our teachers are well, regardless of what we're going through, regardless of the condition of our country, our students still have a chance to do well and be well themselves.
Thank you. And I will say publicly, I appreciate Dr. Anderson, Chesterfield County School District, and what you've done for taking care of me after catching that's COVID long hauler, that with the COVID care plan, and so my family being able to be taken care of. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the principal, Ms. Karen Ellaby.
Absolutely.
This time. So with that said, we're going to ask if there's anything after this broadcast. We're going to push it out, promote it out through targeting to each of your districts. So if there's anything in 30 seconds that you would like to say before, let's go Red Fox, Mr. Coach Johnson. I've had a privilege to actually work in your district as well as a coach. So Dr. Newman, and congratulations to Marlborough County. I had an opportunity to work with those young men, at least the class of 20. So they prepared the class of 21 to get the championship. So yes, congratulations to you all. But in 30 seconds, is there anything that you want to share with your teachers, staff, and your community? And we'll start with Dr. Newman.
Rose up on this question earlier, but that we are offering after school academic enhancement programs. And so it's a continuation of the school day. We've got teachers, we've got TAs, we've got bus drivers. All of our different employees are rallying together over the next 6 to 8 weeks to provide after school instruction for any of our students that want to participate. You know, we certainly have reached out to a lot of students that we feel like would benefit from this, but we've also let our parents know anybody any student that wants to participate. And that's what will happen this summer as well. So we're just getting started with how to give more confidence back to our kids. And so let everybody know in Darlington County, we've got after school programs at every one of our schools. And it's a continuation of what's going on during the school day.
All right. Okay. And Dr. McCord.
Just want to say thank you again for the opportunity to share as well as listen tonight. As always, to our dedicated teaching staff. And when I say our teaching staff, I include everyone from cafeteria to custodian to classroom teacher to administrators. Everyone is doing yeoman's work and working together. As Dr. Newman said earlier, this experience has brought us closer. It's given us a level of understanding and appreciation that I think will carry us forward with this work moving post-pandemic.
All right. Thank you. And Dr. Anderson.
Well, we started off the school year and it was rough, but we made it through it, didn't it? All of us, we made it with our students. And guess what? We're going to finish strong. All of us. We're going to finish strong. We do have a stronger hope and a brighter light. And we see our challenges, but guess what? We overcome those challenges. Our teachers are just superb. The Chesterfield community is superb. And I heard a saying a long time ago from a great educator, and I've always carried it with me. And he said, the saying goes like this: with our hands, with our hearts, and with our minds, we can do anything. Again, with our hands, with our hearts, and with our minds, we can do anything. And we've done just about everything on behalf of our children. And we are grateful and we're very thankful to our teachers, to our staff members, and to all of our stakeholders. We're going to finish strong.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And thank each of you for your time. I know it's valuable time for you guys. It's been busy, but I appreciate your boldness, your confidence to come before the public, because a lot of times the stigma is that you guys want to stay behind the office and don't want to come out. So, but I appreciate you. And if you ever need this platform to get information out to your people, to your community, please just let me know. And we look forward to closing the year out strong. And may God keep each of you. God bless.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Be blessed.
Be blessed. Tasha, you stay there. All right. Miss Reverend Gresham. All right. So you want to get some final thoughts on what you think there, young lady?
Yes,
in case
sir.
y'all make me look like it. That's my baby. I tried to keep that, but I couldn't. So what you think?
So since the cat is out the bag, for those who don't know, I can just say daddy. But no, it was really, really good information. I found that it seems like the state of South Carolina, because we had a good representation of the state, have been pretty much experiencing the same thing, kind of pretty much on the same page, on the same wavelength. But most importantly is that the things that they did not have in common, it seemed like that they really were taking notes from one another, which I think is a promising to our educational system here in South Carolina. When we all, two heads are better than one. So when we all just come together and try to figure it out, great things come of that. As a parent of a elementary school student, my son has actually been excelling in virtual learning. So my concerns were, were there plans to continue virtual learning? And I will say this: I understood their concerns with getting children back in school, because one thing I thank God for is I have a great support system, because it truly does take a village. It takes asking questions. It takes being involved. It takes all hands on deck. And I understand that everybody may not have that. And so there are some students who do need to be back face to face, because that is where their support system lies. But for those who may have found, a new wave a progressive wave for their students. You know, what were the plan for that? Because as we learned, just change is inevitable, and the pandemic has brought about a lot of change, and we found that we really can't go back to the way things were, not in just education, but just on so many different levels of life. For myself, in the academic world, as a parent, this is definitely something that that is dear to my heart. And hearing this information and hearing the positivity, the confidence, was really great. So with all of that said, my final thoughts are, whether you're going back to face to face or whether you're staying virtual, parents, we absolutely have to do our best to do our due diligence, asking questions to our students, to our children, and to their teachers, and to the administrative. If you're not getting the answers that you need from one, you need to go to the other. Like they talked about communicating, we have to keep those lines of communications open. My child's school knows me by name. They know him by name. I don't even have to say this is David's mom. They know Natasha Gresham is David's mom. So, you know, parents, let's just let's not be so critical, but let's bond together with our children, our students, and our educational system. And you know, let's just build that bridge together.
Okay. Very well put. Very well put. And I would say real quickly, just to the educators and staff, from my perspective as an educator, just to be bold, as we had on the state organizations a couple of weeks ago. Just be bold to carve out that space that you can communicate to the district, and make sure that they hear your voice. All right. Okay. All right. What do we have coming next week? What's next week? She's the coordinator of Power to the People, so I'm just a little face of it. You know what it is?
Is that the 3rd? Is next week the 3rd?
No, the third next week is it? Yeah, you might be right. No.
You caught me off guard here.
Okay, I know. Well, just tune in. It may be. Oh, I think it's
we have a book. We have an author next week. Is that next week? Our author?
Either it's the author or our financial with
okay.
AJ. Be talking finances.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's our finances. Right. Yes.
So hold on. Yeah. So hold on to your stimulus check. Don't spend all of it. We're gonna get some financial knowledge and some insights on what we can do with it. Right? All right. Okay. So thank you, Reverend Gresham, and I'll see you on the other side. All right. God bless you all.